You are not going to believe what I did. I know, it sounds absolutely insane, but honestly, I still don't regret it. Not one bit. I'm Clara, by the way. 30 years old. And what I'm about to tell you, it's a lot. Just trust me on this. So, my sister, Sarah, she's always been a lot. You know the type. Everything has to be perfect, everything has to be her way. And she always had to one-up me. Like, since we were kids. I get a new toy, she gets two. I get a good grade, she gets a better one. It was exhausting. And it only got worse when we grew up, especially after she met Mark. Mark. Ugh. He's the type of guy who's just too nice. Like, sickeningly nice. Always agreeable, always trying to keep the peace. You know, Mr. Perfect. And Sarah, of course, loved that. She just walked all over him, and he just smiled and took it. Said he was avoiding conflict. Whatever. Between us, I think he was just weak. They got married, big fancy wedding, everything Sarah wanted, naturally. And then, surprise, she gets pregnant. And of course, it was this huge, dramatic announcement. Like no one else has ever had a baby before. She was constantly going on about how she was going to be the best mom, how her baby was going to be perfect. Always rubbing it in my face, you know? Like, oh, Clara, you don't know what it's like, being a mother, the bond is just so special. As if I was just sitting around doing nothing with my life. Excuse me, I have a career. I have friends. I have a life. But the thing is, she always made it sound like I was just missing out. Like my life was somehow incomplete because I wasn't popping out babies. And honestly, it grated on me. Especially since she always made it seem like she was doing everything, like Mark wasn't pulling his weight. But then, when I'd subtly ask about it, she'd be like, oh, he's so supportive, I couldn't do it without him. Total public versus private persona. I swear, that woman could win an Oscar. Anyway, the pregnancy was a nightmare for her. Or, at least, that's how she painted it. Constant complaints about morning sickness, back pain, swollen feet. Like, yeah, welcome to being pregnant, sweetie. It's not a spa day. But she milked it for all it was worth. And Mark, of course, was always there, fawning over her, bringing her whatever she wanted. It was sickening. The baby was due, and Sarah was just unbearable. Every conversation was about the baby, the nursery, the clothes, the feeding schedule. It was like her entire identity had been swallowed by this unborn child. And I just had this nagging feeling, you know? Like, what if this baby isn't even his? Call it a gut feeling. Or maybe it was just wishing for a little chaos in her perfectly curated life. Don't judge me. You'd probably think the same thing if you had to deal with her. She had this friend, Kevin. Kevin was always around. Like, always. He worked at her office, and she'd always be talking about him. Oh, Kevin said this, or Kevin helped me with that. And I'd always ask, innocently, you know, is Kevin, like, always at your house? And she'd just wave it off. Oh, he's practically family. Just like a brother. Between us, when a woman says like a brother, it usually means he's about to be more than that. I've seen it 1,000 times. So, the baby's due date comes and goes, and Sarah is losing her mind. Calls me, crying, oh, Clara, I can't take this anymore. The pain. The waiting. And I'm just like, yeah, it'll be over soon. I had my own stuff going on. My job was demanding, and I had plans for the weekend. But of course, I had to drop everything because Sarah was having a moment. Finally, she goes into labor. And it's a huge deal. Mark is running around like a headless chicken, and Sarah is screaming like she's dying. And I'm there, because, you know, family. But honestly, I just wanted to roll my eyes. The drama. The baby is born. And it's a boy. Cute, I guess. All squishy and red. Sarah is instantly all, oh, my precious little angel. And Mark is beaming. And then I look at the baby. And I look at Mark. And I look at Kevin, who, by the way, is also there, lurking in the corner like he's part of the family. And something just clicks. The baby, he just didn't look like Mark. At all. Mark has this kind of reddish blonde hair, and the baby had dark, dark hair. And the eyes. Mark has blue eyes, and the baby had these really dark, almost black eyes. Now, I know, babies change, genetics are weird. But it just felt off. And then I looked at Kevin. And Kevin had dark hair. And dark eyes. A little light bulb went off in my head. I watched them for a while. Sarah, Mark, Kevin, all oohing and awing over this baby. And I just kept thinking, this isn't right. I'd always been the one who saw things clearly, who called out the BS. And this felt like pure BS. Sarah was always so careful, so proper. But maybe she wasn't as perfect as she pretended to be. So, I'm standing there, and the idea just pops into my head. Crazy, right? But it was like a challenge. A way to prove a point. Sarah always thought she was so clever, so good at hiding things. But I was going to expose her. Not for me, you know. For Mark. Because he was too nice to see it. Too trusting. I waited for the perfect moment. Sarah was exhausted, obviously. She was sleeping, Mark was out getting coffee, and Kevin was, well, he was probably off somewhere being a supportive friend. The baby was in the bassinet next to her bed. And there was another baby in the bassinet right next to the door. Just a quick glance. Similar blankets, similar size. Perfect. My heart was pounding, I'm not gonna lie. It was a stupid, impulsive decision. But it felt right. Like, destined. I just had to do it. I looked around. No nurses, no doctors, no one. This was it. I walked over to the first bassinet. Gentle. Picked up Sarah's baby. Then, quick as a flash, I moved to the other bassinet, picked up the baby there, and switched them. It was done in literally 5 seconds. I put the new baby in Sarah's bassinet and walked back to the other one, placing her baby inside. Covered them up. Made sure they looked the same. And then I just walked out. Like nothing happened. I went to the waiting room. Sat down. Acted normal. When Mark came back, I was just like, oh, I was just checking on Sarah, she's asleep. And he just nodded. Oblivious. The next day, Sarah was discharged. And she took that baby home. The one I switched. And I just watched. No one suspected a thing. Not Mark, not Kevin, not even Sarah. She was too caught up in being mommy dearest to notice. It was so satisfying, you know? Like, I finally got one over on her. All those years of her trying to outdo me, trying to make me feel small. And now? Now I had this secret. This huge, life-altering secret. And she had no idea. Life went on. Sarah was posting pictures, my perfect little family. And I just had to bite my tongue. It was hard, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I wanted to just blurt it out. Hey, Sarah, remember that day at the hospital? Guess what? But I held back. Because the satisfaction of knowing was enough. Years passed. The baby, let's call him Leo, grew up. And he looked nothing like Mark. He had the same dark hair, the same dark eyes as Kevin. And Sarah would sometimes make these jokes, like, oh, he gets his mysterious eyes from his dad. And I'd just smirk internally. Yeah, his dad. Mark, bless his naive heart, never said a word. He just loved that kid. Took him to soccer practice, helped with homework, played catch in the yard. Mr. Too Nice. And I just thought, he deserves better than her. My own life, well, it was going pretty well. I was doing great at my job. Had my own apartment. Paid my own bills. Didn't need a man to take care of me. Unlike some people. But then, things started to unravel for Sarah. Slowly, but surely. First, it was little things. Leo started having some health issues. Nothing major, but enough to require tests, specialists. And Sarah, being the doctor wife, was all over it. But the results, they kept coming back with things that didn't align with Mark's family history. And Sarah would just brush it off. Oh, it's probably just a fluke. But the doctors, they were starting to raise eyebrows. Then, there was the money. Sarah was always a spender. Expected Mark to cover everything. But with Leo's medical bills, and her demanding more and more expensive things, their finances started to get tight. Mark was working himself to the bone. And Sarah? She was still buying designer bags and going on lavish trips with her work friends. Guess who one of those work friends was? Kevin, of course. I'd hear about it through the grapevine. Family gossip. Oh, Sarah and Mark are having money problems. And I'd just pretend to be surprised. Really? But she's a doctor, he works so hard. Just subtly fanning the flames. The tension between Sarah and Mark grew. He started to look tired, drawn. He wasn't smiling as much. He'd try to talk to her about the bills, about cutting back. And she'd just shut down. You're being dramatic. It's not that serious. Or she'd use tears to avoid the conversation. Weaponized vulnerability, I called it. Pathetic. Then, the rumors started at Sarah's office. You know how it is. People talk. Especially when someone is being too cozy with a coworker. Kevin, of course. Apparently, their friendship was getting a little too close for comfort. Late nights at the office. Working dinners. All that jazz. I didn't have to do anything. The seeds I'd planted, just by knowing, just by observing, were starting to bear fruit. People were connecting the dots. The baby looking nothing like Mark. The closeness with Kevin. The financial strain. One day, I got a call from Mark. His voice sounded broken. Clara, can I ask you something? He sounded so small. My heart actually did a little flip. This was it. He said he was getting a paternity test. For Leo. Said the doctors had suggested it because of the health issues. And he seemed confused. Like he didn't want to believe it, but the doubts were there. I played it cool. Oh, Mark, why would you ever think that? Sarah loves you so much. Just a little gaslighting for good measure. Let him question his own perceptions. But inside, I was practically jumping up and down. A week later, he called me again. And this time, he was silent for a long time. Then he just said, "It's not mine, Clara. Leo isn't my son." And honestly? I felt nothing but vindication. No pity for Mark. No guilt. Just pure, unadulterated satisfaction. Sarah, the perfect, high-achieving Sarah, was finally exposed. Mark confronted her. And apparently, it was a huge blow-up. She tried to deny it, of course. Tried to cry. Tried to say he was being dramatic. But the DNA test was right there. No denying that. And then she admitted it. The affair with Kevin. A few years back. When Leo was conceived. Mark was devastated. He'd been working so hard, pouring his life into a family that wasn't even biologically his. And Sarah? She still couldn't take accountability. She tried to rewrite history, saying it was just a mistake, a moment of weakness. Blaming stress, blaming Mark for not being emotionally available enough. The usual excuses. The divorce was messy. Mark got a good lawyer. He had all the evidence. The paternity test. The financial records. The rumors from her office that now had solid proof. And he demanded sole custody of Leo, even though Leo wasn't his. He still loved that kid. Mark, the too nice guy, still stuck to his word. But he didn't want anything to do with Sarah. He even went for damages, citing emotional distress and fraud. Sarah lost everything. Her reputation at the hospital was in tatters. The affair with Kevin, the baby, it all came out. She was forced to resign. Blacklisted, effectively. Nobody wants to work with someone who has that kind of baggage, especially in healthcare. Kevin? He disappeared. Couldn't handle the heat, I guess. Typical. Her social circle? Gone. All those friends she bragged about? They vanished. Her public persona, the supportive wife and loving mother, shattered. Everyone saw her for what she was, a manipulative liar. And the financial consequences? Devastating. Mark got everything. The house, most of the savings. She was left with nothing but her debt and her bruised ego. She had to move back in with our parents. My parents, who, by the way, were absolutely mortified. They tried to blame me for not warning them, but I just said, "Hey, I told you something was off." Not my fault if they chose to be blind. Leo. Mark fought for him, and he got him. Full custody. He's raising Leo now. And I see them sometimes. Mark looks happier. He's found someone new. A woman who actually treats him with respect. And Leo? He's thriving. Seems like a good kid. As for Sarah? I hear things. She's isolated. Nobody wants to be around her. She tries to post on social media sometimes, vague statuses about overcoming challenges, but no one comments. Her identity, everything she built herself around, being the perfect doctor, the perfect wife, the perfect mom, it's all gone. Stripped away. And the best part? She still doesn't get it. She blames Mark. Blames Kevin. Blames the hospital. Even blames me for not supporting her. She regrets how things turned out, sure. But she doesn't regret her actions. She still thinks she was just doing what she had to do. It's pitiful, really. Do I regret switching out her baby? No. Not for a second. It proved a point. And it made her pay. For everything. All those years of her trying to one-up me, trying to make me feel less than. Now, she's the one who's less than. And I don't care anymore what she thinks, or what anyone thinks. I did what I had to do. And I'm still here, living my best life. She got what she deserved. And that, my friend, is a story worth telling.